Here we go, Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network Stadium Pulse on a Monday. What a show we have for you today. In a time where the NFL loses to nobody, where nobody can outdo the NFL was outdone yesterday on your Sunday. It was completely outdone. Everything on social media was all about college football in the midst of NFL games. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it. I don't know if you have either. Welcome in, Jason Hamby, Stadium Pulse, Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. We do it every Monday, every Friday, 9 to 10 a.m. Hop in the chat today. We got a great one. LSU, they got Lane. Florida, they get Sumrall. They get Dave Caldwell. That hits home special for Jaguars fans. Probably not in some of the best ways. We'll see. We'll see how the reception is. I'm so curious what the reception is. I mean, I've got obviously a ton of Florida fans in my circle. Some are, to put it bluntly, they're pissed. They're disappointed. Some are trying to give Sumrall the benefit of the doubt. Some are just almost apathetic. They're locked into basketball season. We'll see what happens. We'll have a lot on Sumrall in just a few minutes. Obviously, it was one of the wildest Sundays. I mean, I'm getting out of church, and there's the Sumrall notification. He gets hired. There's the Caldwell notification. We're all expecting the Lane Kiffin notification, and that comes later. And that one didn't hit out of nowhere. That one was just like kind of subtly, hour by hour, we were getting a new update of the plane and the meeting canceled. And I mean, we all knew. But yeah, and then we get Golish to Auburn. We get, what's his name, to Arkansas. That's how irrelevant I feel like that. That is Ryan Silverfield. And then, by the way, before we get any further, let me just throw this out there because this might not be on your radar. Again, LSU, they get their guy. Florida gets their guy. Arkansas, Auburn. What's Penn State doing? Ole Miss even promotes from within. They go with Golding. They really didn't have a choice, but I think they made the right move. We'll get to that as well, but what's Penn State doing? What are y'all... I mean, Michigan State's up there hiring a coach less than 24 hours after they fired their coach. What's Penn State doing? Is this not a top 7 job? Anyway, I'm glad to see everybody hopping in the chat already. Appreciate everybody hopping in. Let's talk Lane. This is an insane saga. I can't wait for the documentary. All of the tweets, all of the post-game press conferences, the meetings, or the interviews with Pat McAfee and Marty Smith. Real quick, we're going to get to Marty. Marty deserves a hand clap. Buddy was out in Oxford, Mississippi, it seemed like for years, and it never seemed like he was going to be able to go home. If you haven't seen all the memes about Marty Smith, do yourself a favor to start your Monday, and those are phenomenal because it kept dragging on and on and on and on. But anyway, after all the tweets, all this stuff, everything about how much he loved Ole Miss, he's gone. He's gone, just like that. And not surprised. Not surprised at all, but I still don't think it fell out exactly like we thought it would. So whenever we get these big moves, I really want to do the thought exercise with you this morning. I try to put my feet in the fan's shoes first, and man, I don't think if I'm an Ole Miss fan this morning, guys. This is how good college football is. When Lane is leaving on the plane, we're getting videos, point of view from the tarmac of Ole Miss fans flipping him the bird, screaming at him, all this stuff as he leaves. 24 hours ago, they were just, this is how good the sport is. They're wheeling his clothes. There's a picture of Lane's clothes on hangers right outside of his office, outside. You can't make any of this stuff up. I'm putting myself in the fan's shoes this morning. I'm pissed at Lane Kiffin. I fully get it. He rubbed y'all through the mud. But if I put myself in Lane's shoes, I think he could have gone about it better. Certainly. Not toyed him along. But I don't blame him for going to LSU. I don't blame him. In a perfect world, dude, just stay. You're in the playoff hunt. You could win a title right now. I still think what we learned above all else is that Lane is still Lane. And I think Ole Miss, the 6 years, the 6 successful, very successful years there in Oxford for Lane Kiffin, we all thought it was reputation repair. I certainly did. He rebuilt his legacy. Obviously, it's hard to have a legacy if you haven't won a title, but he at least rebuilt his reputation, his coaching prowess, all of this stuff, his family, all of it. And I think if you listen to how much that guy talked about the glory days, how much he was living in them, how happy he was in Oxford with his son playing and his daughter there and all this stuff, it only meant so much. It was never the most important thing. And is that fair for me to say? I mean, I'm not in his shoes. I don't know. But from everything that he told us, I think that's the only logical conclusion. So in Lane's shoes, I get that he wants to leave. I think, dude, take yourself out of it for a second and figure out a way to do this. Here's the problem, though. There will never be any really self-reflection in these kind of moves because the guy's going at 1,000,000 miles a second. 1,000,000 miles a second. He's already on to his next recruiting class. He was spent last night with one of their top recruits. There's never going to be any self-reflection here of how he could have done this better. That's what's wrong with college football. This whole arena that we're in of sports. There's no self-reflection. Maybe there will be for a guy like Keith Carter, the Ole Miss AD. But by the way, hey, Keith, one of the other biggest takeaways is we are rooting. As a collective, I think, of a college football. Obviously, if you've got a team in the hunt like I do, Georgia, it's going to be tough. But Ole Miss is going to have a lot of secondary fans come playoff time. And there's going to be a lot of college football fans that do not have a dog in the hunt that are rooting for Ole Miss, rooting for Keith Carter, rooting for Pete Golding to make a run. I think if you ask, did Ole Miss make the right decision to permanently promote Pete Golding to head coach, not just the interim tag, because it wasn't just the interim. They said, hey, you're the guy going forward. Already, as of right now, Pete Golding will be their head coach next year. I think that's a great move. Obviously, a guy who spent a lot of time at Alabama, was under Nick Saban. Is their defense great? No. Was it only great last year because they had a ton of first-round picks? Yes. But they're good enough. And it's a guy who's been under Saban. He knows what a winning culture is like, a championship culture is like. He's the right guy. We still do not know, here's the big part, at least for this playoff, how many of the offensive guys are going with Lane to LSU. The Charlie Weisses, the Joe Judge, offensive coordinator, QB coach, all those guys. We don't know if they're staying with Pete Golding to coach Ole Miss in the playoff run or they're going to LSU. It was reported that Lane was pretty much like, hey, y'all are either coming with the plane and you're in Baton Rouge tonight or that's it. You're staying, like, you don't have a job with me. Okay, obviously, he denied that to Marty Smith. Again, we're going to play that for you, a little bit of that in just a second. But he denied ever giving his coaches, his assistants, an ultimatum. That's up for you to decide. But I do want to throw up the quote, if we can, the picture of Lane's statement. Won't read it all, but I just want to read the second chunk. I was hoping to complete a historic 6-season run with this year's team by leading Ole Miss through the playoffs, capitalizing on the team's incredible success, yada, 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 and investing everything into a playoff run with guardrails in place to protect the program in any areas of concern. It's not possible. You're trying to win a championship with one team, and you're trying to start to build your next career with another team who also happens to be that team's rival? You're telling me you already had guardrails in place to protect the program and any areas of concern? Like you weren't going to try to poach the entire roster, the entire coaching staff, and take everything that you have built, especially the offensive brain trust, Trinidad Chambliss. You weren't going to try and take that to LSU. This is not his fault, but it's just naive to believe that we would believe that. It's not possible to maintain guardrails when you're trying to build something at a new program and finish what you started at another. It's just not possible, especially in the same conference, especially when you're competing one state over for the same kind of talent, all that stuff. But let me play you his interview. He's on the tarmac with Marty Smith. Again, credit Marty Smith. The guy was there for, it seemed like, years. Finally awaiting a decision. And again, this is parts. I edited parts out. This was a 5-minute interview. Got you down to 2. Here that is.
You've just left your last meeting with the Ole Miss Rebels, and you're getting ready to get on an airplane to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. What is going through your mind right now?
Well, first I just watched you do something unbelievable and go off-road around the fire trucks to get here. So amazing job by you. You know that this was a very challenging, difficult day. You know, we went through a lot last night with Keith Carter trying to figure out a way, you know, to make this playoff, you know, run work and be able to coach the team. And at the end of the day, that's his decision. And I totally respect that. I understand that decision. And, you know, so I just totally wish the team the best of luck, wish that I was coaching, but understand that it was a very challenging position for him and the chancellor to be in, and totally respect that. So, you know, just really hope they play really well and go win the national championship.
What drew this decision out so long?
It was really difficult. This has been a really special place. 6 years here. I know that there's a lot of feelings and emotions right now around. I hope when they settle down that there's an appreciation about what we were able to do here and having, you know, the best run that's ever been done in the history of the school, and brought some exciting times. So I'm so appreciative to the people of Oxford and the relationships that I developed here.
I understand you didn't attend the meeting today. Why not?
You know, again, I totally respect Keith's decision.
So that was his decision?
Yeah. He asked me not to come to the meeting and said I couldn't come, but which I totally understand. You know, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. You know, we're trying to find a way, you know, to make this work and coach the team and give the team the best chance to win. But I also, you know, he's got a job to do.
Why was LSU the right choice for you?
Yeah, just, you know, there was something in me. This was really hard. My heart was here. But I just, you know, I talked to some mentors, Coach Carroll, Coach Saban, you know, and especially when Coach Carroll said, man, your dad would tell you to go, man, take the shot.
So that's Lane and Marty Smith. I mean, I think it's obvious he's trying to play the victim here. He wanted to, you know, and I think in the statement it also said that, you know, he wanted to coach the team, and the team asked the AD to let him coach. I don't know if that's true. Maybe a couple players did, maybe they didn't. But he's trying to play the victim, and I get it. Again, I'm not like totally anti-Lane here. I get why he would want to coach, but there's no shot in the world. No shot in the world Ole Miss would ever let you coach. And to believe that was even a possibility, I think, again, was naive. I think that's thinking you're too important here. It's bigger than nobody's bigger than the logo. I think that's what Ole Miss is trying to set the precedent of, and I think they're doing a good job of it. You can't have both. You can't, you know, take your money and run, but also want to coach and be the savior of Ole Miss, because you're not. You're not. And I think, again, that's what, by promoting Pete Golding, by trying to hang on, by preaching, at least in the video that they put out, that they fully believe to compete in the playoff, they're trying to say Ole Miss is that, you know, hey, Lane's not the savior. Like, you guys, the players, are the ones who win the games. And that's why I think anybody who puts out the narrative of, well, you know, maybe Ole Miss shouldn't be the playoff because they don't have their head coach, and Their head coach is really good. Yeah, I think that's clowny, and I don't even know if I want to even really entertain it. I mean, this is a top 12 team in the country, and that's they can win a title. They can win a title. Now, will they? Are their chances very inhibited without Lane? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I mean, Lane is diagnosing what opposing defenses are doing like nobody else right now, and at Trinidad, Chandler's playing at an elite level. That being said, all you got to do is get hot. And a little fire in the program, in the locker room, can go a long way in a short-term playoff like this. It just can. You come out, and let's just say you play Notre Dame. I don't even know what the bracket would be right now, but let's just say you play Notre Dame and you win in a shootout. Like, that confidence, with that amount of juice in your program, with knowing that Lane Kiffin is watching on his couch, on his brand new couch, or maybe even on his floor, or maybe in a hotel room in Baton Rouge, that can propel Ole Miss. That can propel them. They can win. They can win a game or two. They can go. I hope they go on a run. Can they win the national championship? No. And then one more point on this before we get to Florida. I know everybody's waiting on it. Will Lane win at LSU? Yes, he will. As satisfying as it kind of would be, even just as an outsider, I mean, I can only imagine what Ole Miss would do for him to fail at LSU. But as an outsider, or I mean, just as an SEC guy, Georgia guy, he's gonna win. He's gonna win. I mean, Coach O won, and that was the best team that I've ever seen in my lifetime. That 2019 team. And does anybody think that Coach O is some phenomenal coach? Lane's 3 times the coach that Coach O is. I know they're different sides of the ball, and they're totally different. Coach Lane can get way more out of a team than Coach O can. Maybe if you give Lane 9 years, he'll win a national title at LSU. But yeah, someone else who made a decision to leave their team in the middle of a playoff run, just like Lane, is Jon Sumrall. And I'm not calling for Jon Sumrall to get any type of heat like Lane is for leaving his team. And he is going to be able to stay and finish what he started at Tulane with the conference championship. I believe that's this Friday, not Saturday. And if they were to win, then obviously they'll go to the playoff and enjoy their first round exit at the hands of whoever the number 5 seed is. I wish it was Georgia, but now it's not. We'll get to that later, whether they should even want to be in the SEC championship. But anyway, back to Sumrall. So he's leaving his team just like Lane is, but he's getting to stay just for this last little run. It seems like it's a much more cordial, much more straightforward type of deal. It's a 6-year deal from Scott Strickland in Florida, $7.5 million per year with some incentives, obviously, for winning. Now, first reaction, and hop in the chat with it. I need first reaction, and 24 hours later, almost, is that still your reaction? Or now that the dust has settled, have you changed even at all? Obviously, the prevailing thought in Florida country, Gator Nation, including right here in Jacksonville, is that this is Billy 2.0. Okay. It's Billy. They believe it's Billy 2.0 because obviously he's not only coming from the G5 just like Billy did, but it's also from the state of Louisiana, just like Billy did. Limited head coaching experience, 4 years for Napier, 4 years for Sumrall, 2 years at Troy, 2 years at Tulane. Eerily similar records against in general and against top 25 teams. All this stuff. So that's the initial reaction. What the heck? Flip the table. Billy 2.0. This has been a failure of a coaching search. All this stuff. My first question to any Florida fan that I come in contact with will be this. If you're pissed, Florida, about hiring Jon Sumrall, what specifically did you want Scott Strickland to do? Because everybody's pissed at the AD right now. Nobody's pissed at Sumrall, because obviously you shouldn't be. Obviously that would be stupid if you were. He didn't do anything. He got an upgrade. He got a promotion. So if you're pissed this morning that he was hired, then you have to be pissed at the guy who hired him, obviously Scott Strickland. But what did you want him to do? Again, specifically, if you weren't getting Lane, what was the alternative? Some people want to believe that you could have pushed harder for Lane. Some people believe that you left the Lane sweepstakes too early. I don't. You would have to believe that they offered the exact same thing that LSU did, and they were just tired of waiting. And that Scott Strickland was afraid of getting left on the curb and didn't want to be, wait any longer. Didn't want to wait any longer. And so said, hey, we're out, because if we wait any longer and we lose the Lane sweepstakes, well, then if Sumrall could go to Auburn. And we really like Sumrall. So we've got to go, if it means that we've got to get out of the Lane sweepstakes to at least secure Sumrall, we will, and play it safe. But I don't think you can really be mad at Strickland for that. I think that's a more of a smart play. If you weren't getting Lane, who did you want? What did you want Strickland to do? Because just this, get more creative, I'm not buying that. Hire somebody power 4. Who? Everybody signed extensions, and that's why I say specifically, you don't know what he offered and what he didn't. You don't, and neither do I. I'm not trying to defend Scott Strickland right now. All I'm trying to do is saying, I'm trying to poke holes. Y'all got to try harder as a fan base. That's what I'm saying. You got to try harder. Because you wouldn't have wanted Clark Lee either. And if you did, you don't know if he offered him or not. You don't know if he offered Lincoln Riley or not. And John, you don't know if he offered Dillingham. He says Lincoln Riley and Dillingham both tried to get involved and were turned away. I've seen that report. I've also seen plenty of reports that say Kenny Dillingham said no. And I've seen reports that Lincoln Riley said no. You're going to get it on both sides. Trust me, you're going to get it on both sides. Neither party wants to be the camp that got turned down. That makes sense. It's a pride thing. Lincoln Riley doesn't want to ever admit that Florida would turn him down if he wanted the job. Florida will never admit if they got turned down by Lincoln Riley. It won't happen. All we know is that we never really got any hardcore news that they were in talks. So it wasn't a fit. You're going to tell me that Scott Strickland didn't try hard enough? I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm buying it. And until you can give me a coach that would have actually, number one, made you happy, and number two, was an actual real. I mean, guys, this is 6 weeks ago we were talking about freaking Marcus Freeman. Are you kidding me? 6 weeks ago in Gator Nation, they were talking about Marcus freaking Freeman. Seriously? Again, you guys think too highly of yourselves, and I'm not trying to hammer or beat you when you're down. But everybody else told you this. You're not in the Freeman sweepstakes. And again, unless you want to choose to believe that it was 50-50 between LSU, I think that's wishful thinking. I think it's wishful thinking. You got out. That shows that you didn't think you had a shot or a good enough shot. Or maybe it's either that or AD was just plain scared. Scared to get left on the curb. Wanted to solidify somebody. You've got to pick and choose your arguments. You can't just... Your program is not as high as you thought it was. That doesn't mean it's not a top 25 program. But I think it's obvious that y'all were in second place to LSU and Ole Miss. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that Florida was in third place. And I don't believe it was by much. I don't think they got boat raced in this deal. I believe that Strickland gave a competitive offer, a very competitive offer, and at the end of the day, LSU just won out. And obviously, I think they did Lane a favor when they dropped out so that he could really focus on just stay or go. That's what I believe it ended up being. Whether it was that way all along, I don't know. Was there a day in the last 3 weeks where maybe Florida was the favorite? Potentially. But they weren't the favorite for the long majority of this thing. Let's get back to Sumrall. So if Florida fans can get to the point where they accept Sumrall, guys, as a Georgia fan, obviously the only person that would have possibly scared me in this whole deal is Lane Kiffin. Okay, he's the only one that's capable as of right now to even come close to competing in the recruiting to out recruiting Kirby, whereas mind games and X's and O's on game day are equal to Kirby. He's beat Kirby in the past. Not many even people can say that. It was, Lane was the only scary person in this whole candidate pool. Not a single other person would have. So does Sumrall scare anybody? No. But is this guy just going to come in and are we already chalking this thing up to 2 or 3 years and he's gone? I think that's a disservice to the guy. Let me say this. You guys, as much as Florida fans want to believe that they're a top 10 program, and they're not, as much as they want to, you guys certainly are just so freaking pessimistic about anybody that they bring in. Again, that goes back to the conversation we just had about what you want to believe about Strickland, whether he was scared to go all in on Lane or whatever, and he needed a coach. But I think y'all should get behind this Sumrall guy. Florida fans, get behind him. First of all, you have no choice. Second of all, it's not Billy. This guy's a little psycho. Sumrall's freaking, he's Dan Lanning vibes, man. Like gritting his teeth, like all that stuff. You're going to get a soundbite. Lane Kiffin is not the only guy in the SEC that can give you a soundbite. Now Jon Sumrall is going to join the fray. You wanted a Spurrier 2.0, somebody who's saying something in front of the microphone that's not just cookie cutter, which is what you got from Billy Napier. Great guy. Unbelievable guy. Terrible soundbite. Sumrall's good. So at least, you check that box. That seems to be half the battle with Florida. We just need somebody who could talk like Spurrier. They're not going to be happy with me for that one. But it's true. Florida fans want 2 things. They want an offensive mind, and they want a guy that can talk and give them sound bites like Spurrier can. Well, they got one of those things. This guy's a defensive guy, linebacker. Spent a lot of time at Kentucky, Troy, then obviously at Tulane. But this guy gives me Dan Lanning vibes, man, and I think that's cool. You got a little juice. It doesn't take long. You go back and listen to his sound bites. Even last week, he's talking about how bad Tulane, his own program, is. Doesn't that remind you of somebody? Remember when Spurrier said, oh, yeah, quarterbacks can't do this, kickers can't do this, coach, nothing. Leaders don't got any. Remember that whole deal? I know that was at South Carolina, but that sounded eerily familiar to me. That's pretty much the 2025 version of what Sumrall did at Tulane. Oh, we're in the top 25? Top 25 must be pretty bad then. We're an average football team. Y'all going to get a soundbite. So congratulations, Florida. There's that. We got to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to more on Sumrall. What's it mean for this next year's team in the immediate future? How the leash, we'll get to that. And our old friend Dave Caldwell, he's in the picture now. We'll get to that as well. Hop in the chat. Appreciate everybody who's already been in there. And hey, could it be worse? Could it be worse? We'll get to that as well. A little Florida State right around the corner, Georgia as well. Appreciate everybody. Excuse me. What am I trying to say here? Hopping in, hanging out. That's what I'm looking for on Stadium Pulse. We'll be right back in a couple minutes.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at NimnickBuickGMC.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnicht has a treating you right guarantee. Courtesy, respect, fairness. The most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnicht. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnicht. GMC. We are professional grade.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
It's one of the hot spots in the area.
Welcome you to String Sports Brewery out at the beach. Big crowd on hand tonight. The fans are here.
And now, the newest hot spot at the beach is open. String Sports Brewery in Jax Beach has opened its doors with rave reviews.
We're going to be fans forever.
Cozy up to the bar. Grab a seat in the sports-themed restaurant, or grab a seat outside and feel that breeze coming off the beach as the weather warms. Just like the original location in Springfield, try the popular beer menu and come for lunch or dinner too, because the food is fantastic.
We got a special guest in the house. He's happy. He's feeling good. He's Trayvon Walker.
It's where we hosted Jags Report Live in the football season, and the String Sports Brewery staff can't wait to host you. Hey, welcome back here to String Sports Brewery. And if you haven't checked out the new location in Jax Beach, you got to do it. String Sports Brewery, now with 2 locations in Springfield and now open in Jax Beach on Penman Road.
Hi, I'm Greg Mackey from Cycles of Jacksonville. Whether you're looking for a side-by-side, ATV, motorcycle, or scooter, Honda has what you need.
The Honda Talon. Ultimate performance meets family-friendly fun. Prices starting at $363 a month. Or the sporty Honda CBR 650 starting at an affordable $204 a month.
Stop by and choose your adventure from a full line of Honda products. Only at Cycles of Jacksonville on Atlantic Boulevard. Family owned and operated since 1983.
Hello, I'm Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Since 2003, our firm has fought exclusively for the rights of men in family law. Divorce, modification of child support, alimony, custody, and more, all for men. A father is vitally important to a child's life, and being a man is not a reason to pay more in child support or alimony. I'm a single father. I get it. If you have a divorce or other family law issue, contact Kenny Lay & Associates at divorcemenonly.com.
CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing is taking their 75-plus years of expertise and expanding to CGC Home Services. Water treatment and plumbing is still a big part of what they do, and now they can do even more for you. Home services like kitchen and bathroom remodeling, showers, sinks, faucets, toilet repair, backflow testing, and the list keeps going. Find all they can do at cgchomeservices.com or give them a call, 904-298-7052. It's a new look and a new name with the same expertise. They've been serving homes like yours since 1946. CGC Home Services, right here in Jacksonville off St. John's Bluff Road, 904-298-7052. And visit cgchomeservices.com. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Welcome back. Stadium Pulse on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us today. Talking a lot of Lane Kiffin and a lot of Sumrall. The odd man out in this equation is Dave Caldwell. And this is a wild one. I don't think it wasn't a huge surprise because I think some of us had heard some things circulating surrounding Dave Caldwell, the old Jack. Just imagine. I mean, I am so glad there's the Gator fan, and there's the Gator and the Jags fan. Okay, the Gator and the Jags, the Gators fan from, west of Gainesville might not be all that familiar with Mr. Dave Caldwell. And I like Dave Caldwell. And I think he got a bad rap for a lot of things, and I think he could do a great job at Florida. But the fact of the matter is Dave Caldwell is not that well liked in Jacksonville, just because the teams weren't very good. Obviously, he was the GM for 7 years, 2013 to 20. That can't taste great for Florida fans who are from Jacksonville. It can't. Just because the name Dave Caldwell is not, let's just say, tied to a lot of success. So if you're going to get a GM, I think Jags fans, Jag/Gator fans, were probably hoping it was somebody they had never heard of. That's just me. That's just my take. I think it'll work. I think they should be happy. I think you should be glad you got a GM. I think this is the new thing in college football, and Florida's taking a step up in this regard. They're taking a little bit off Sumrall's plate. Do we know exactly what a GM does in college football? No. Not exactly. Because they don't have near as much power as an NFL GM. Because at the end of the day, it's still the head coach recruiting. It's still the head coach picking which players he wants. Buck stops with him. It's all on Sumrall. So anybody, first of all, who's worried about Caldwell going to be, no. Sumrall is by far and away the CEO of everything in this building. And Caldwell, again, we don't know. I would assume that Caldwell is just helping out with player acquisition, as in not recruiting them, but knowing exactly all the dollars. Sumrall's not going to have to deal with the dollars. He's not going to have to deal with the budget. He's going to be able to coach and recruit and get players in the portal, but he's not going to have to worry about the dollars. That's it. I think this is a win. I just think it's kind of hilarious at this point that it's just the name, Dave Caldwell. If you're a Florida fan right now listening to this, specifically if you're a Florida fan sitting here in Jacksonville, and you're thinking, holy crap, we just hired Billy 2.0. Holy crap, we just hired Dave Caldwell, the GM of my youth. How could this get any worse? You could be an FSU fan this morning. Enjoy. You don't like Sumrall? You only wanted Lane? You hate your AD because you don't think he tried hard enough? You can't believe that Dave Caldwell is going to be influencing your life yet again after 7 years of that? It could be worse. You could be waking up this morning a Seminole after just getting your tail kicked 40-21 in the swamp against the Gators. So crazy how that game is already not even 48 hours removed, irrelevant from our minds, and it's been erased because of all of the coaching stuff. DJ Lagway goes 15-24 for three touchdowns and a pick. By the way, that might have been his. Was that his last game in a Florida uniform? Florida fans, is Jake Retzlaff going to be your next quarterback next year? Coming over from BYU, then he goes to Tulane with Sumrall. He's probably a better quarterback than Lagway is right now. Is Sumrall going to pull that trigger? That's way too far down the line, but that's a insane question. It's a very important question in the next weeks and months. Is Jake Retzlaff going to be the next quarterback of the Florida Gators? Who knows? Will DJ Lagway want to go? Will he want to play for a defensive-minded head coach? Will Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown and Jaden Ball, who, again, look like the best running back in the entire country, will they want to play for a defensive-minded head coach, or will they want to go to the portal, get paid a little bit more, and compete for a national title? Because guess what? If they all get on the same page, this could very well, in Florida, get worse before it gets better. Just because you won 4 games this year does not mean it's going to get better next year. Just because Sumrall may be way better in-game coach, it might not get better. All of your players could leave. This is what happens when you go from offensive guy that the players themselves liked. They didn't hate him. They might not have thought he was the best coach, but they liked him. And they played for him. There's no doubt about that. When you fire that guy and you bring in the defensive-minded guy who's not been tied to the program in the past at all, it's a new face, entirely new face. Why, on paper, would all of your best offensive players stay? They don't know who their offensive coordinator is. There's promises of better programs, better coordinators, better chances to the NFL, and, by the way, more money, and, by the way, winning everywhere else but where they are right now. Do you have any confidence that Dallas Wilson will be a Florida Gator next year? If you would have brought in Lane Kiffin, of course all those guys would have stayed. No doubt. No doubt. Why would you ever leave? You're going to get it developed in a way that you never were under Napier. If you would have brought in fill-in-the-blank offensive guy, maybe they stay, maybe they go. If you would have brought in Jed Fish, a guy who's been an OC in the NFL, you got a better shot at keeping these guys, I think, right now than if Sumrall was your head coach. So if you're thinking short-term, maybe Fish was your guy. Maybe anybody offensively was your guy. And, of course, Sumrall already comes in, and this was a great move. Whoever told him to say this, A+ for you, telling him to put out the statement, pretty much, I know I'm a defensive guy, but I know at Florida it's all about high-flying offense, and we're going to do everything that we can to get the best offensive coordinator in there on day one. Whoever told him to say that, great job. But don't be surprised, I'll say that, if Dallas Wilson is Burnell Brown, all these guys are gone. But back to my original statement. Even if all those guys leave, it'd still be better than being an FSU fan. They just got nothing, man. I mean, 40-21. Zach, by the way, would absolutely be really entertaining to listen to right now if he were here. He'd be really interested to give a statement, a progress report on his fandom of FSU, but he's unable to be with us this morning. However, he did hop in the chat and offer this thought, so I will read it to you to give a contribution from Mr. Zach Benwick, FSU fan, obviously, as you guys well know, single-handedly responsible for canceling JU's football program. He said, I want nothing more than the Gators and the Noles to have played on Nick at Night and switch coaches for the game just to have something to laugh at. Now, in a world where, YouTube TV and ESPN finally got it figured out so you can watch the game, I'm telling you right now, I would have paid pay-per-view money if both schools just said, we are blank shows to such a degree, and if you're FSU, we need the NIL money so bad that we will forfeit the last game of the season. We'll give you Mike Norvell. We will call Billy Napier from the Bahamas, from Bora Bora, you name it, from Greece. We'll call Billy from Athens, Georgia, helping out with Kirby Smart. We'll call him to coach us, FSU, and we'll go head-to-head. The Billy Escapiers and the Seminoles versus Mike Norvell and the Gators. You wouldn't have watched? I would have paid $60, just like the old days. Mayweather versus Pacquiao. That's a pool. I watched that one way back. That might have been $100. I paid $100 for that. Can we get that for a bowl game? Neither of these teams are going to make it. They could both use the NIL money. It's like the NIT, but worse. Just give that to me. I will pay. I will contribute $30 to both Florida's NIL fund and FSU's NIL fund if I can get Billy Napier coaching FSU against Mike Norvell coaching the Florida Gators. Feed that to me. And go ahead and put it on Christmas Day. Put it on Christmas. Merry Christmas, Florida State fans. Number one, you've got something to watch that's entertaining for the first time in 6 weeks. And number two, you're going to have a little money. You're not going to be broke anymore. What say you, Florida State? You'd better do it. All right, let's move on. I'm probably just making people upset. Laugh about it. That's all I can tell you. But Sumrall, not the only guy. Lane Kiffin, not the only guys going to new programs. I know Logan Rivers in the chat asked me, what do you think about Golish to Auburn? I think it's a good move. I think they wanted Sumrall as well. I think Florida stepped in at the right time to get him. Otherwise, it could have been Golish at Florida. Those two guys could have been swapped. I think Golish is a winner, and I like his attitude. I like the culture that he brings. I'm not a big fan of the wide choice type offense. I don't believe we have enough time to kind of break that down. It's the same exact offense that UCF ran for forever with Heupel there. That's why Heupel also runs it at Tennessee. He's molded it a little bit to make it a little bit more conducive to star players and to variable routes. But wide choice, really wide outside the numbers, right? That's why they use all 53.5. The wide receivers are way wider. They rarely ever bunch. They want to really space out the defense. And then 75 to 80% of their time, their receivers either run goes or comebacks. Wide choice. You pick. It's not conducive to star players. It's really hard for those players to go to the NFL. They normally have pretty terrible route trees. Again, and they're different. Again, we don't have time to break it down. What does that mean for Cam Coleman? I don't know. Does he want to stay in a place like that? It's conducive to a place like Auburn. I think it will be. I think they'll win there. And it's tough to defend. It's a little gimmicky, a little gadgety. So I like Golish. Look, at the end of the day, anybody is better than Hugh Freeze. Florida fans, count your blessings that you didn't have Hugh Freeze. So Golish is a win until he's not. And is he going to have long-term success? I doubt it. But anything's better than Hugh Freeze. Arkansas gets Ryan Silverfield. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. Just know that the program he just left, Memphis, is probably more invested in football than Arkansas is. So figure that one out. Memphis is dumping money, trying to be the group of five representative every single year, and Silverfield failed. And now he's going to Arkansas. So good on you, Hogs. Nice job. Again, Penn State, crickets. Got nothing for you. I have no idea what they're doing. If you do, please let me know. Who's even available? You're going to go get Hartline from Ohio State in his first year being an offensive coordinator? Pull your rival? Jim Knowles? I don't know. Dead fish? What a disaster. They should hire back James Franklin and give him a raise. That's what they should do. Kentucky fires Mark Stoops last night. I don't know why they waited for this one, but I know it's a lot more cordial than any of these other programs for as long as he's been there. They wanted to let him down easy. Mark Stoops was never going to step away because he loves Kentucky. He wanted to be there as long as possible, and he would have been. So this is a cordial one. They're a basketball school. They are not going to contribute a whole lot of money to their football program ever. So, and this is going to make it really, really hard for a up-and-coming guy. Like Golish probably, if I'm Golish, I would not have gone to Kentucky. I would have stayed at USF. If I'm Silverfield, I probably would have stayed at Memphis if that was an option. Kentucky is where you go to die. They're contributing that when they get this revenue sharing stuff. Hey, here you go, basketball. Football, you get the scraps. Who's going to win with that? You're gonna look like a terrible coach. That's dead. We didn't even really get to all the game. I wanted to. We could have done a 3-hour show today. Could have done a 3-hour show because I wanted to get to Georgia beating Georgia Tech 16-9. I wanted to get to Arch Manning beating A&M 27-17. Because now Georgia's in the SEC championship game this Saturday against Bama, part 1,000. Running this back yet again. Low-key, kind of dreading it. Not because necessarily it's just Bama. It's just I don't know if I wanted to play in the SEC championship. Does that make me spoiled? I don't think so. I think it makes our landscape a joke. That's not figured out. Don't blame me. Blame the system. It's better if Georgia doesn't play in the SEC championship and they get the bye. And now, their starting center's hurt and they got injuries all over the place. So does everybody else. I'm not trying to say Bama doesn't or nobody else does. I'm telling you that bye week this week, that would have been pretty nice. And scratching and clawing to put a team together to go play Alabama in the SEC championship, and I know they're doing the same exact thing, that doesn't sound all that great. And Kirby wants to get on everybody and say, well, doesn't an SEC championship mean anything to you now? Yeah, it did. It used to be my favorite day of the year. Because I knew we weren't going to win a national championship, so the SEC championship was my national championship. Now we can win a national championship, so the SEC championship doesn't matter. We'll talk about that this Friday. We got to get out of here. Friday we'll have conference championship previews, Georgia, Alabama, Indiana, Ohio State. We'll probably rewind and go back to Vandy beating, BTA over Tennessee in the second half there. Bama barely beating Auburn. That one was a close one. We might even get to the game a little bit as well. Ohio State beating Michigan, and I'll have a thought or two on that as well. And then we'll obviously preview the whatever bracket the playoff committee comes up with tomorrow night. Hey, and if that guy dares to say, those two numbers again back to back, maybe we'll just spend the entire show on it. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We got to get out of here. Brenton Austin show coming up in 5 minutes. Jaguars dominate in Nashville. First place Jags, 8-4. Gotta love it. Monday morning quarterback at 10:30. We will talk Lane Kiffin. We will talk Sumrall and Caldwell. I'm sure Brent will have some interesting things to say about Caldwell, especially with their relationship in the past. AFC playoff picture and Jags Colts this Monday. Big one in the bank. Appreciate everybody hanging out. We'll see you next time.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
It's one of the hot spots in the area.
Welcome you to String Sports Brewery out at the beach. Big crowd on hand tonight. The fans are here.
And now, the newest hot spot at the beach is open. String Sports Brewery in Jax Beach has opened its doors with rave reviews.
We're going to be fans forever.
Cozy up to the bar, grab a seat in the sports-themed restaurant, or grab a seat outside and feel that breeze coming off the beach as the weather warms. Just like the original location in Springfield.